Imagine waking up one morning with a strange realization. Nothing terrible has happened. Your life, objectively speaking, is stable enough. The roof is still above your head. The same routines wait for you. The same familiar world stands outside your window. And yet, something feels wrong. Your mind begins scanning for threats. Did you say something awkward yesterday? Are people secretly judging you? What if the future collapses? What if everything you're building quietly falls apart? What if you're already failing and just don't know it yet? Within minutes, the calm morning transforms into a battlefield. Your heart beats slightly faster, your thoughts accelerate, a subtle tension wraps around your chest like invisible wire. But here's the unsettling part. Nothing has actually happened. No real danger stands in front of you, no catastrophe has unfolded, no crisis demands your attention. And yet your mind behaves as if the world is burning. Why? Why does the human mind have this strange ability to manufacture problems out of thin air? Why can a single thought spiral into an entire storm of fear? And more disturbingly, why does it feel so real? Imagine two people walking down the same street, the same sky above them, the same buildings, the same passing strangers. One person feels peaceful, almost indifferent to the world's chaos. The other feels anxious, overwhelmed, convinced something terrible is about to happen. The external world hasn't changed, only the mind has. Somewhere inside your skull, inside the silent machinery of thought, reality is being interpreted, distorted, reshaped. But here's the deeper paradox. The same mind that solves problems also invents them. The same intelligence that allows you to build civilizations, write poetry, and explore the universe can trap you in imaginary disasters that never occur. You worry about conversations that haven't happened yet. You replay mistakes from years ago. You imagine people judging you when they're too busy worrying about themselves. Your mind constructs entire tragedies from fragments of possibility. And once those thoughts appear, they don't politely leave. They multiply. A small doubt becomes a heavy fear. A passing concern becomes an endless loop of overthinking. A simple uncertainty becomes a story about failure, rejection, or catastrophe. Soon the imagination begins acting like a cruel storyteller, constantly whispering worst-case scenarios. What if you're not good enough? What if everything collapses? What if the future is already doomed? The mind becomes a theater, and fear writes the script. But here's the disturbing question most people never ask. If these problems aren't real, then why does your mind create them with such intensity? Why would evolution give us a brain capable of inventing suffering? Why would consciousness itself carry this strange defect? Because the truth may be darker than it appears. Perhaps the mind isn't broken. Perhaps it's doing exactly what it was designed to do. Think about it. For most of human history, survival depended on anticipating danger before it arrived. The humans who imagined threats early were the ones who lived long enough to pass on their genes. The rustling in the bushes might be nothing, or it might be a predator. The cautious mind survived. The relaxed mind became lunch. So your brain evolved into a prediction machine, a hyper-alert system constantly scanning the future for possible threats. But here's the tragic twist. You no longer live on the ancient savanna. The predators are mostly gone. Yet your mind is still hunting for them. And when it cannot find real danger, it begins creating imaginary ones. Deadlines become disasters. Social interactions become psychological minefields. Small uncertainties become existential threats. Your brain is trying to protect you, but in doing so, it may be quietly poisoning your peace. The result is a strange modern condition. Human beings surrounded by safety, technology, and comfort, yet haunted by invisible fears. We are no longer chased by predators. We are chased by our own thoughts. And the more intelligent the mind becomes, the more elaborate the fears it can invent. The question is no longer whether the danger is real. The question is why your mind refuses to believe that it isn't. Why does the brain cling so tightly to imagined catastrophes? Why does it replay them, expand them, exaggerate them? Why does a single thought feel so powerful that it can reshape your entire emotional reality? And the most unsettling question of all, what if many of the problems controlling your life never actually existed in the first place? What if the prison
isn't the world around you, but the silent narratives constantly running inside your head. Because once you begin looking closely at the mind, something disturbing becomes clear. The greatest source of suffering in your life may not come from reality itself, but from the way your mind interprets it. And that realization leads to a deeper mystery. If the mind can create problems that don't exist, then what hidden force inside the human psyche is responsible for this strange illusion? And more importantly, why has almost no one taught you how to see it? If you watch your mind carefully, something strange begins to reveal itself. The thoughts that disturb you the most rarely come from reality itself. They come from interpretations, tiny mental stories your brain instantly creates about what reality might mean. A message arrives late, and your mind whispers, "They must be ignoring you." Someone looks serious, and suddenly your brain suggests, "You must have done something wrong." A mistake happens, and the mind leaps towards its favorite conclusion. This proves you're not good enough. The event itself is small, almost meaningless, but the mind transforms it into something enormous. Why? Because the human mind does not simply observe the world, it narrates it. You are not just living your life, you are constantly telling yourself a story about your life. And like any storyteller, the mind tends to exaggerate. Psychologists call this cognitive distortion. Philosophers call it illusion. But centuries before modern psychology existed, certain thinkers had already begun to uncover this strange mechanism hidden within the human psyche. One of them was Carl Jung. Jung believed that most people are not fully conscious of the forces operating inside their own minds. Beneath your everyday awareness lies something far more powerful, the unconscious. And the unconscious has a peculiar habit. It projects. Unresolved fears, insecurities, and hidden conflicts do not simply disappear. Instead, they quietly reshape how you perceive the world. If you secretly doubt your worth, the mind will begin finding evidence everywhere that confirms this belief. A neutral comment becomes criticism, silence becomes rejection, uncertainty becomes failure. The world starts looking hostile, not because it truly is, but because your inner conflicts are being projected outward. In other words, many of the problems you think exist outside you were first created inside you. But Jung wasn't the only one who noticed this disturbing pattern. Friedrich Nietzsche saw something equally unsettling about human consciousness. He once wrote that humans are not nearly as rational as they believe. Beneath our logic lies a deeper force, the will to survive, dominate, and protect the ego. And the ego has one primary obsession: control. Your mind constantly tries to predict what will happen next because uncertainty threatens the ego's sense of stability. If you can predict the future, you feel safe. If you cannot predict it, the mind begins inventing scenarios to prepare for every possible disaster. This is why you imagine arguments that never occur, why you replay conversations that ended hours ago, why your brain rehearses embarrassing moments that exist only in memory. It is not trying to torture you, it is trying to protect you from the unknown. But here lies the paradox. The more the mind tries to control uncertainty, the more problems it creates. Because the future is by nature unpredictable. No amount of overthinking can fully prepare it for you. And yet, the mind refuses to stop trying. So it keeps simulating threats, again and again, endlessly. Arthur Schopenhauer pushed this idea even further. He believed that the human mind is trapped in a cycle of desire and dissatisfaction. When things go wrong, we suffer. But when things go right, something equally strange happens. The mind begins searching for the next problem. Have you ever noticed this? You solve one issue, and almost immediately another appears. Finish one task, and the brain begins worrying about the next one. Achieve something meaningful, and suddenly the mind whispers, "What if it doesn't last?" Schopenhauer believed this endless restlessness was built into human nature. The mind constantly scans for what is missing, what is wrong, what might go wrong next. Peace, therefore, becomes difficult, not because peace is impossible, but because the mind itself is uncomfortable with stillness. Silence feels unfamiliar. Calm feels suspicious. So the brain generates mental noise, thought after thought, scenario after scenario, problem after problem. But there is another layer to this story, one that modern society has quietly intensified. Aldous Huxley once warned that the greatest threat to human freedom would not come from external oppression, but from psychological manipulation and distraction. Today, your mind is exposed to more information, comparison, and stimulation than any generation before you. Endless news cycles, constant social media comparisons, relentless pressure to succeed, improve, optimize, and outperform. Your brain was designed for a small tribe of a few dozen people. Instead, it now processes the imagined judgments of millions. Every scroll through a screen feeds the mind new reasons to doubt itself. Someone else appears more successful. Someone else appears happier. Someone else appears ahead of you. The brain interprets these signals as threats to status and belonging, two things evolution wired us to care deeply about. And so the mind reacts the only way it knows. It invents problems to solve.